All right, welcome to the show. This is Christopher Gelson with Protect Your Children Incorporated. This is Saturday Night Live, Saturday Night Protection Live. We're glad that you are here. We have people from Rumble and Twitter and YouTube. Unfortunately, Facebook is not streaming the live. So, if you go to Facebook, you will see the link for the YouTube live stream. So, that's what's happening with that. First, Facebook removed the live stream from the Protect Children group, which we still can't figure out why. And now StreamYard, which is the software that we use to stream live, is not allowing Facebook. So, but that's all right. We're live on YouTube, live on Rumble, and live on Twitter. And we thank you all for being here. We got Wings, Rising on Eagles Wings is in the chat. And hopefully anybody else who wants to comment from YouTube, we will see your comments in the chat. So please feel free to jump in there. So tonight we got a very important show. Now, I'll tell you right off the bat, we've had some comments from people who say, you're always bringing these stories. Maybe people are tired of hearing these stories. Yes, another teacher, another predator. Maybe people are just getting tired of hearing it. Well, yeah, you know what? We're tired of having to bring it. But the reality is that each one of these stories has warning signs, has flags, and has teachable moments that parents and kids can learn from in order to keep themselves protected. That's why we bring you the stories that we do. And tonight, we're going to talk a little bit later about a teacher, talk about a psycho predator. This is the worst one that we've heard of, who, and I can't say the full word because of the YouTube algorithm. So, but you saw the title. This teacher, we'll say aped, probably could say that without the R, aped this 12-year-old boy, and we're talking force, and then went after his friends to try to do the same. I mean, this teacher is absolutely psycho. Elementary school teacher. An elementary school teacher. Imagine that, right? And we're going to find out that, of course, there was conversations going on with through Snapchat for months that the parents never found out about. And yeah, this just comes back to the importance of being nosy and knowing what your kids are doing in their phones, because their lives are on their phones. You want to know what's happening with your child? Go on their phone. You'll learn a lot. So, but in any case, that's coming up in a little bit tonight. We're also going to bring you a couple-minute clip of a psychologist who attempts to explain why these female teachers are doing what they're doing. We played this a few weeks ago, and we wanted to replay it because it's really important. And he highlights something that might be the trigger for why these teachers are doing this to these kids. And it's pretty eye-opening when you think about it. So, and also tonight we have 14-year-old Jay with us. Say hey.
Hello there.
Yes, he's a little crazy. So Jay is a 14-year-old student, and he's going to talk to us a little bit later about the condition of the kids at school, as far as them being hypersexualized, the comments that, like, how bad has it gotten? And we've talked about the 4-step predator plan. The 4-step predator plan is predators have to first demoralize the child. So anything that would make them believe that sexual interactions with an adult is wrong, they have to convince them that it's not, and just break down any morals that they have that would say this is probably a wrong thing. So predators will demoralize, they will desensitize the child. So they have to get them exposed to enough sexual joking, enough sexual material, enough sexual pictures to the point where they don't think it's a big deal anymore. They just see it all the time. It doesn't even affect them anymore. And then the next step is they have to hypersexualize these kids. They got to just flood their brains with images and songs and TikTok dances and everything they can that's super sexual, so that the kids get hypersexualized. Once those three things happen, the predators can then attack the children with the least resistance as possible. And that is exactly what they do. So, Anna Mayo, welcome to the show. Glad that you're here in the chat. So we're going to hear from Jay about how well are the predators doing? Like, how well is that plan working in the school system today? And it ties right into this teacher being absolutely crazy. Now, in this case, the boy, we're going to hear didn't want it. He was trying to fight off this teacher, and she literally aped. We're going to say aped. You guys know what that means out there. Aped this boy, like forced herself on him, which is, it's just crazy, right? So, but in most cases, it doesn't happen like that. In most cases, it's grooming, it's desensitizing the child, demoralizing the child, filling their head with compliments, and telling them how great they are, that they can trust them, that they're going to be there for them, that it's really not that bad. It can be our secret. Don't tell anybody. It's just between you and me. Kind of all that grooming stuff in order to get the child to want to fool around with them. Yeah, I said that. And that's not a popular thing, but that's exactly what happens. Predators will groom kids to get them to the point where they desire to fool around with them. Right? Now, some of you may remember Jay from months back who fell into that same type situation. And there was a lot of things that led up to that, but the podcast is live. The live podcast is on our website. You can find that if you go back in date order on our website. But it all ties together. So we're going to bring you that information as well and how that ties into this teacher. So, it's crazy stuff out there. So I first want to let you know about our website, protectyourchildren.org. Protectyourchildren.org is our website, and lots of free information, education, and awareness. We want to draw your attention to this in-depth protection packet right here on the top. In-depth protection packet is a packet of detailed protection guidelines. Okay, detailed protection guidelines for parents, for kids, for guardians, and you know what? Even for the good teachers out there. Okay, the ones that aren't aping. There we go. Their students. All right. So the in-depth protection packet. Go over it with your kids. There's a lot of great information. It's age appropriate. It teaches them how to be safe, how to identify predators, so that they don't get pulled into their traps. All our live shows, as I mentioned, are on here in date order. Most of them. We have to get updated on that. We apologize for that. Tips on preventing kidnapping, other podcasts. If you just scroll down, there's tons of stuff. Zip code predator searches. You can put your zip code in there and find out if anybody's been arrested with a criminal history that's around your kids. How to set up parental controls on game systems, phones, all that's on there step by step. And a whole bunch of other stuff. Background checks, which we do for free. Yes, we do background checks for free. And you do not need a social security number. That's the number one question we always get asked. Do you need a social security number? I don't have their social security number. We can locate somebody without a social security number. We use a 5-point match system. You give us some basic information. We can locate somebody for you and let you know if there is a criminal background on that person. So you can donate to help us out. We're a nonprofit organization. Every bit of money that you donate goes directly back to the mission of spreading awareness and education and promoting these podcasts and these shows to get it out live to more and more people, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's protectyourchildren.org. So thanks for that. Briding, glad to see you in the chat. Glad that you're here. Good evening to you. And people are filtering in slowly but surely. Glad that everybody found us. We used to be live on Wednesday nights, and now we have moved to Saturday nights. And yeah, we kind of took it from Saturday Night Live. It's like, hey, live from Tampa, Florida. It's Saturday night. Protection Live. So, all right. Let me jump into our hero segment for this week. Each week, we do a hero kid segment. We try to bring you some good news, some feel-good news about kids that are doing great things. Why do we bring you that each week? Because as we've said over and over again, kids are born with a purpose. They're born to do good things. They desire to do good things. You know the innocence of children. They want to help people. They feel bad for people. And they have dreams that they want to pursue. They want to have the ability to help others who are in need. And when a predator gets a hold of a child and does what they do to them, it messes that child up, and it can knock them off of that path of purpose. It knocks them off the path of purpose. Okay. And so we like to remind everybody of how great kids are, and that there's still so many millions of great kids out there that need to be protected, that are doing awesome stuff. So that's what the Hero Kid segment is about each week. And this week, I'm going to bring you a compilation of kids that can change the world. These kids have come back from unbelievable circumstances to do amazing things to help others. And, we want to share that with you tonight. So let's check that out. Kids that change the world.
I was actually born with one finger on my left hand and a full left leg, but it was curved. I had surgery when I was 2.5 years old to remove the part that was curved, so I had a stump that they could put a prosthetic leg on.
Now that's what we're talking about. That was a compilation of kids who have done amazing things to help the world. You got to remind your kids that they can change the world. And they think, well, I can't affect 6 or 7 billion people at once. But that's not what it's about. It's about changing the world that they live in. It's about reaching out where they can. Whether it's through helping the homeless, as we saw, or starting, soccer, building schools, feeding the homeless, sleeping outside. Let me tell you, that one kid still sleeps outside in the winter 45 days every year to raise money for the homeless as a reminder that, man, I'll tell you what, when we have a warm bed to sleep in, we have air conditioning in the summer, there's a lot of people that don't have that. So these kids are wonderful. They're awesome. And they have a heart to help people. And the one thing a predator doesn't give a crap about is a child's hopes and dreams. A predator doesn't care what a child wants to do. A predator doesn't care if they want to change the world, make a difference, help the homeless, build schools. They don't care about that. One thing a predator cares about, getting to that kid, getting sex. That's all they want. And they will destroy a kid. And when they're done with them, they will move on to the next kid. That's what they do. So it's absolutely insane. But that's what predators do. But these wonderful kids, and Anna in the chat said, absolutely, like, it's beautiful. It absolutely is. We love to hear stories like that. And we'll continue to bring them to you each week. So, all right. That was our awesome Hero Kids segment for the week. Again, just a reminder, we're going to talk about this teacher who aped, as we say, aped a 12-year-old boy. And then wait till you see how she manipulated him to keep him quiet. And then she went after his friends, because that's how predators work. They get to one kid and then they figure, hey, if I was able to get away with this one kid, I can get to their friends too. And this was an elementary school teacher. And she is definitely the psycho predator that I've ever seen. And we're going to bring that story to you in just a few minutes. And as a reminder, Jay is here.
Hello.
Hello again. Jay is 14 years old. He is a student, and he's going to give us some insight on exactly how the predators are doing with demoralizing, desensitizing, and hypersexualizing the kids. Because let me tell you something, parents, if you don't realize this by now, your kids have two lives. They have the life at home, and then they have their life at school. And the life at school usually matches the life on their phone. Okay, so parents, if you're not monitoring that, but kids at home, they're going to be on their best behavior. They're going to try to do what they can. Okay, make parents don't think anything is going on. But at school, when they're around their friends, they can get away with a whole lot more. And I'll tell you something, teachers can use that against kids. There are situations where kids will be getting into trouble in school, and they know that their parents are going to be absolutely ticked off if they find out. So what's the teacher say? Hey, I won't tell your parents. I won't tell your parents if. See how a predator can use that against a child? And we're going to see that this teacher who did this to this 12-year-old boy did something very similar to that. So a few weeks ago, we brought to you a psychologist. It's about a 1.5-minute clip. The psychologist tries to explain why he thinks that these teachers are doing this, these female teachers primarily, because there's been a skyrocketing amount of female teachers. And we have known, for decades, and decades, that it's usually only men, right? That's what we've always heard, right? Right? Jay, you've heard, look out for the guys out there. They could be dangerous. Did you ever think you'd have to look out for a female?
No, never.
Isn't that crazy? Like, you wouldn't think that, right? Now, back in the 80s, Van Halen had a song called Hot for Teacher, and the boys always joked about it. It was like, hey, man, if I had a teacher who was hot like that, woo, good for me, But it was never serious. It was, it was never like Van Halen was out there going, hey, go fool around with your teacher. It used to be, the kids used to joke about it. It was immature and it was inappropriate, but they joked about it. Now it's actually happening. And there are so many of these teachers, 23, 24, 25, even 30 years old, going after 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old boys. And these teachers are married. Some of them have kids. They've got careers, licenses to teach. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would they want to go back to 11 or 12 or 13-year-old boy? It's absolutely insane when you think about it. And the psychologist we're going to bring you right now tries to explain why he thinks this is happening. We think he has some valid points. Well, I'll tell you right off the bat, the first thing he says, we're not buying, okay? And the first thing you're going to hear him say is that this has probably always been happening, but now we're just catching the females more. Okay, maybe it was happening before, and now there's more of a focus on it, but you cannot tell me that the amount of child predator crimes has not skyrocketed. This is what we do as an organization. We've been doing this since 2020, and we can tell you there are more cases now than there's ever been. This is not just a case of, oh, the internet's just making us more aware. No, this is happening more and more and more. And it's happening in places that you would never expect it to happen, like in the school, in the classroom, for crying out loud. So we disagree with him on that point. But when he comes to talking about why he thinks they're doing it, the psychological reason, we think he's onto something there. He might be onto something there. So I'm going to bring that to you right now. Let's check this out. We'll be right back.
Child. We're seeing more women who are being arrested for these crimes. In the past, women were not arrested. It may very well be that this has been going on for a much longer period of time. But now that we're arresting the women, we're seeing this phenomenon. These are women who are married. These are women who are dating. These are women who have children. These are women who may have been divorced, and they are trying to recreate something in their mind to bring them back to a childhood situation where they had their first sexual arousal and emotional arousal. Especially younger teachers who may be just 23 and may see the high school relationships with her students as not very different from what she had when she was trying to date and find passion in relationships. And often the boundary then gets lost between the teacher and the student. But you do have the authority of the teacher over the student. It's a very powerful one. The child may look adult, they may have fully developed genitals, but they're not equipped to deal emotionally with the relationship of falling in love or falling into sex with a teacher. All of the teachers I have been involved with in my practice, their marriages ended. The children took sides, and people treated the teacher as a monster. Many of them get hospitalized psychiatrically or put on heavy medication. Many of these teachers are good teachers, and they're never going to practice again, and they have to give up their license to practice. It's horrible what people can do when a lust relationship becomes associated with attachment.
Well, the point that we agree with there, and it's the same thing with a drug addict, okay? And we've heard from drug addicts, and I used to work in that field. And I asked an addict one time who had been using crack cocaine for like 30 years. And I asked him, I said, why? Why do you keep going back? What are you trying to achieve by doing this? Like, you've lost your family, you've been in prison, you're broke, you're homeless, your teeth are falling out, you've got nothing, your life is destroyed, but yet you're still trying to look for that high. What are you trying to do? And this man said to me, I'm chasing the first high. I'm trying to get the high that I felt when I first did this drug. So a part of his mind is telling him that if he can go back in his mind, he can recreate that first high that he felt. Now, of course, it's not possible because he's grown, the body changes, things happen. He'll never get that first high, but this is what they're always chasing, okay? It's called chasing the beast is what it's called. And this psychologist explains that these teachers literally are going back to a time in their childhood. So what does that tell you? Well, if a predator is going after an 11-year-old or a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, 14-year-old, and they're trying to recreate a situation, then that tells you that these teachers were sexually active at that young age. And whether it was by force or molestation, we don't know, but they're trying to recreate the time when that happened. So they're going after young boys in order to try to recreate that same feeling, that same attachment that they had when they were that young. And that's a very good possibility of why this is happening. I mean, you can't explain why else teachers would just destroy them, their whole careers, you know? And Marie T in the chat, welcome to the show. She said, that just sounds so weird to me. It does, but it does happen with people. You know, I mean, you know, everybody knows that criminals have what they call stressors. Have you ever watched, like, you know, Criminal Minds? You know, it's loosely based on true stuff. And there's always talking about there was a stressor. There was something that triggered the person. It's something that caused them to go start doing what they're doing. Well, it seems like in these cases, these teachers are just they're preoccupied and obsessed with younger children. Like, what is going on in their brains? Like, what are they trying to recreate? What are they trying to accomplish here? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but this is what that psychologist believes may be happening, and we don't know. But we do know that it's a huge, huge problem. So, again, this to know we're here with Jay. He's going to be joining us for some questions here in just a few minutes after we look at the segment. But he's 14. He's in the school system, and he can tell you some crazy stuff of what's happening with these kids. And when somebody sits there and says, why would a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old or a 12-year-old want to be fooling around with the teacher? Well, what he has might give you some insight, because a lot of these kids, would you say, Jay, have already been desensitized?
Oh, badly.
All right, hold on to that. Hypersexualized?
Yeah,
Yeah, and demoralized, obviously. They don't think it's wrong.
obviously.
So there's a lot of stuff happening there. And Anna Mayo makes a great point. Demonic influence. No, there's definitely part of it. You know, we totally agree that there's definitely a demonic influence there. But it does go back to psychology. And look, we're not certified mental health people here, but I can tell you from talking with that addict, you know, they are trying to go back to a time in their mind where they can recreate when they felt that first high. And if these teachers are trying to recreate something from their past in order to cope with their present, that could explain why it's happening. But it's no excuse, right? But it certainly can give psychologists and criminologists an angle to look at, you know. But in any case, yeah, that's what the psychologist had to say. So what do you guys think? Let us know in the chat. I want to thank everybody in advance for listening to the podcast. A lot of people listen to the podcast after the show is over. We do appreciate you, and we do read your comments. So as you watch the video, listen to the podcast, leave comments. We will reply to those, and we thank you in advance for that. This is Chris with Protect Your Children Incorporated. This is Saturday Night Protection Live, brought to you by Protect Your Children Incorporated. We are 501c3 not-for-profit organization based in Tampa, Florida. Yes, hurricane-ravaged Florida. We're pretty much back to normal now, but it got crazy for a few weeks there. So, but yes, we bring you live protection and education every week and all week through our social media, through Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, all of those. You can find Protect Your Children Incorporated on those sites. So please check us out there. All right. Let's get into this teacher. Psycho teacher. This psycho teacher, and this is going to come to you from Law and Crime. Law and Crime with Jesse. Jesse Weber does a great job. And you know what? We've been using their content for about a month now, and they've never copyrighted us. So we're very thankful for that. We do give credit to Law and Crime Sidebar with Jesse Weber. They bring these stories, and they just really have a good way of drawing insight to what the heck is going on, giving us the facts. And so that's where this clip is going to come from. Law and Crime with Jesse Weber. So let's jump into this psycho predator teacher, and we'll be interrupting for commentary and comments from Jay as well on what he thinks. So let's jump into it.
Silver Lake Salem Joint 1 School District takes this matter extremely seriously. The safety and well-being of our students is our top priority.
Graphic and disturbing new details are coming out about a teacher's aide in Wisconsin who prosecutors have charged with more sex crimes after her original arrest. We got our hands on the amended criminal complaint, which lays out how Anna Maria Crocker allegedly violated the trust of her students and the consequences she could face. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. While more students in Kenosha County, Wisconsin have come forward to accuse elementary school staffer, 33-year-old Anna Marie Crocker, of sexual assault. Crocker was originally charged last month with 3 felonies, but on November 1st, an amended complaint was filed. So now those charges, they're up to 7. And during a court hearing, the prosecutor said that her office is being flooded with tips and said that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Authorities say Crocker, a mother of four, forced herself on her son's 12-year-old friend during a sleepover. She's also accused of sending explicit messages to several other teenagers. Crocker was an educational assistant at Riverview School in Silver Lake, which has students from kindergarten through 8th grade. She was fired at a specially called school board meeting in October.
There is no playbook on how to handle situations this disturbing and sensitive in nature. And our administrative team and office staff handled this situation promptly and with the utmost seriousness and care. And for that, we're grateful for their leadership throughout this matter. Let us be clear. The Silver Lake Salem Joint 1 School District takes this matter extremely seriously. The safety and well-being of our students is our top priority. We are committed to maintaining a safe and nurturing environment for everyone in our district. Anyone that seeks to harm or prey on children will not have a place in our school community. To that point, Anna Crocker was arrested Wednesday morning and removed from the district promptly. Her employment with the district has since been terminated.
Now, before we dive into the new criminal complaint, I do want to warn you that there are a lot of details that are difficult to listen to. They are honestly stomach turning, and we're not going to get into everything. We're not getting into the specifics, but it is important to understand why she's facing such serious charges, what she's facing, and also the kind of punishment she could potentially face if she's found guilty. So to talk about this, I want to bring in an expert on this, trial attorney David Ring, who specializes in sexual abuse cases. David, so good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. Let me first just start real quick with the laundry list of charges that Crocker faces and also the sentencing guidelines if she's convicted. So we have first-degree child sexual assault. This is sexual intercourse with a child under the age of 13. Our understanding carries up to 60 years in prison. Possession of child pornography, at least 3 years, no more than 25 years. Sexual exploitation of a child, this is the filming component. This is at least 5 years, no more than 40 years. Exposing genitals, no more than 3 years. Exposing a child to harmful material, up to 3 years. Child enticement, up to 25 years. Exposure to a child to harmful descriptions, up to 3 years in prison. So if she's convicted and gets the maximum penalty, David, on each charge, am I looking at it the wrong way, or could she be looking at more than 100 years in prison? And is that actually reality, a practical reality of what she could be facing here?
Well, yeah, she could be facing, a lifetime in prison. The reality of it really probably is if she's convicted, she's going to get very, very significant time. I mean, I could see a judge sentencing her to 20 plus years in prison for these crimes. This lady is absolutely a predator, no doubt about it. She's gonna go to prison for a long time.
Look, she's innocent until proven guilty, right? She hasn't been convicted, but assuming all of this is true and she gets convicted across the board of all this, and we will go through these allegations, any kind of mitigating factors that would help her during sentencing? Is it mental health issues, her upbringing, what was going on in her life, anything like that that could factor in to a case like this?
All of those elements you just mentioned could factor in. The fact that she's got young children. She's obviously a mother with 4 children that apparently are, teenagers.
All right. I have to ask this question. Who cares about the mitigating factors? They always ask this question. Now, I'm guessing Jesse Weber's asking it from the point of view of, could her defense use mitigating factors in order to reduce her sentence? Okay. But the reality is, okay, she's got kids at home. That's even more scary, right? I mean, she's allegedly abusing and aping elementary and middle school kids, right? And it's like, well, what if there are mitigating circumstances that could, make her sentence lighter? Is anyone interested in making her sentence lighter at this point? I'm not. I mean, she forced herself on this boy, which we're going to hear about, against his will. I don't care about mitigating factors. Listen, she went through a rough childhood. Sorry, but what you did is what you did. But I don't know. Sorry, that was just a side thing. Here, let's get back.
Or younger, that could factor in. And the mental health aspect could also factor in. We haven't heard much about that, so we don't know. But look, she's going to have to, assuming she's convicted, she's going to have to bring in either experts or friends or relatives. We're going to have to come in and testify as to give some explanation of why she acted this way. I don't know if that's going to carry the day, though, because these are heinous crimes, if true.
By the way, a little more background on Miss Crocker here. So we looked at her criminal history on TruthFinder. All we had to do was put in her name and her location, and the powerful background checker was able to pull up information about her. We were able to confirm that Crocker was convicted of speeding, had to pay a $225 fine. No other criminal history was listed. But it's a really great tool because Law and Crime, we partner with TruthFinder. We use it to get details on people involved in almost all of our stories. But look, even if you don't work in true crime, this can just be an excellent resource to give you some peace of mind. It's one of the largest public record search services in the United States. And by the way, with a paid subscription service, you can get access to unlimited reports about almost anyone. And if you're interested right now, you can get 50% off of your first month of confidential background reports. You just got to go to truthfinder.com/LC sidebar. But go.
All right. Let me jump in there real quick and just say, TruthFinder will cost you about $50 a month. We have other programs that we use to do background checks, and we will not charge you any money. You will see on the background check portion of protectyourchildren.org that we ask for a $5 donation just to offset the cost of the programs that we use, but it is not mandatory. We have yet to send an invoice to anybody. So if you want to do a background check on somebody, there's a simple form to fill out. You give us the person's name, maybe their current city or previous cities, any family members you might know, and we can usually locate somebody and let you know if there's a criminal background. The other thing we want to point out is he said that when they went there to look, she had a ticket for speeding. That's it. Oh, okay. That's how she became a teacher, because she wasn't arrested for any child sex crimes. Clearly, they missed something when they hired her, didn't they? And this is a recurring issue. And we tell you, just because somebody doesn't have a criminal background in child sex crimes does not mean they're not a predator. Because we'll remind you that 88% of child sexual predators have yet to be arrested. They know that from stats that they've looked over for decades. 88% of them have not been arrested yet. So, and the average amount of victims that a child predator has before they're caught is somewhere in the area of 100 to 200 kids before they're finally caught. That's insane. That's 100 to 200 lives messed up. So just because someone doesn't have a criminal background doesn't mean they're automatically safe. You can just let your guard down. Oh, okay, no problem. We checked them out. They're good. But on the other side of it, it never hurts to do a background, because a lot of times, especially single moms out there wanting to date, you want to bring somebody around your children. The number one thing you want to make sure of is they don't have a criminal background, drugs, abuse, violence, child sex crimes, or anything like that. So, but anyway, we do those checks for free on our website, protectyourchildren.org. Let's jump back in.
Going back to this, here's what deputies in Kenosha County say they found out. So on October 8th, a man apparently called police to report that his 13-year-old son was forced to have sex with the mother of his friend. The alleged victim, identified as ZG in the probable cause statement, told deputies that he met Crocker's son at school. They were friends. He said that he had been to Crocker's home, quote, countless times. And the probable cause statement says, quote, ZG described the defendant as acting crazy every time he is over there because she is a heavy drinker. ZG then described an incident that occurred 9 to 10 months ago in the wintertime. He was at the defendant's house for a sleepover with some friends. Throughout the evening, they played basketball, went for a walk, and played video games. Everyone went to bed around midnight. ZG slept on the couch in the basement. While asleep on the couch, he was woken up by the defendant, who was naked. The defendant had removed ZG's pants and was on top of him. Eventually, his friends heard noises and went downstairs. The defendant tried to hide, but his friends saw what happened. ZG went upstairs and told his friends what happened and then went to bed. David, that is just horrifying. And also, it makes you wonder why it doesn't come out until so much longer.
And why was the child sleeping over at the teacher's house? Why hadn't he been over there several times? There's a good question. Again, teachers associating with their students outside of school, warning, red flag, shouldn't be happening.
You know, you have the allegation that this happened to this young boy, but also people see it as well. Talk to me what your thoughts are on this.
I've represented children my entire career. in these types of cases. And it's not unusual at all that this victim would not go tell someone right away. You know, he's a boy. He doesn't know what to do. He's 12 years old. This is a shocking, unbelievable incident to him. And kids don't know how to react to that. I think she also down the road kind of threatened him and said, hey, you can't tell anyone about this. That's always very effective on the victim. And so it's not unusual at all that he didn't tell, or at least didn't tell for a while, truly. And so the other thing is these other boys saw it. Again, it's not unusual for other boys who saw it not to tell. I mean, they're probably talking amongst themselves, but for them to go to an adult and say what happened, they probably think no adult's going to believe this.
Yeah, but you know what? There was also apparently rumors that were going around the school about what the students saw, about what happened. And I just imagine if there's rumors going around, people are talking about how did the school.
What happened here was, jumping ahead a little bit, is another boy who she victimized did tell the school and went and told a school staffer that, hey, she's sending me Snapchat, sexual content, videos, things like that. And so you do have at some point one victim who comes forward and tells school authority, and the school authority tells the police, and you know, there she goes. She's going to get arrested. So look, it went on long enough where you eventually have someone telling an adult who does the right thing.
So let me.
And that boy was super brave for that. I mean, thank God he said something, because this teacher would have never been stopped. He would have kept going, kept victimizing kids. And, you know, what's the key word in there? Snapchat. Someone has yet to give me a great explanation of why Snapchat is a good app. Oh, you can do little doggy ears and you can make little cat. Oh, the filters are so cool. Snapchat was created with the ability for messages and videos and pictures to disappear after they're seen or read. It is promoted to kids. You combine that with parents who do not check kids' phones, what do you think is going to happen? Snapchat knows this, and Snapchat's being sued right now, I believe, by 3 different people, but them lawsuits are dragging on, and they're in the millions and millions of dollars. But why would someone create an app like that? Don't they know that kids are going to use it for trouble? That's the whole purpose. And I think predators are running Snapchat. I really do. There's no reason to have an app like that kids can get on, where they know that predators can contact them, and there's going to be no evidence, at least at the time. But as we're going to see, those videos and those pictures and those messages are not gone forever. They're still there. Snapchat holds them on their servers for 7 years by law, and law enforcement can still get those. So it's not as safe as predators think it is.
Get into this a little bit more, and I'll stick with ZG, because at one point, when apparently he was getting ready for football one day, he tells his mom he didn't feel well, goes to the bathroom, and he says he starts dry heaving, and he reportedly made the comment, I thought I would never have to think about it again. And that's when he told his mom what had happened. So David, absolutely horrific allegations, and this all seems to be proof that all children, male or female, deeply affected by something like this. It's one thing to not report, but look at the actual, if you take that allegation as true, the physical effect it has on these victims.
Absolutely. I mean, it's horrific. Look, this is a crime of child rape. If the allegations are true, this lady went downstairs and took this boy's clothes off. 12-year-old boy. She's 33 years old. Took this boy's clothes off and essentially raped him. And so you can imagine the impact that has on a young kid, on anybody, even an adult. Yeah. But the impact on this young kid who doesn't have the tools to know what to do, doesn't have anyone to tell, doesn't think he can tell anyone. He's holding it inside for a long time. And it's not unusual to have physical symptoms, physical sickness arise because of what happened. Truly horrific crime.
It really is. And you mentioned it, ZG was not the only child that Crocker's accused of targeting. So we have this 14-year-old, JPF, those are the initials in the the filing, and told the school resource officer at the local high school that he had been exchanging sexual chats and pictures with Crocker on Snapchat for, quote, a long time. Goes back to that question about it had to take him and the other person to come forward, and why did school staff not know? But he also told this deputy that Crocker had sexually assaulted him in a parking lot in another county in August of 2024. The probable cause statement goes into detail about what ZG revealed in his forensic interview, which we're not going to get into, but it does note ZG said he told her repeatedly to get off of him, but she would not listen. He also tried to push her off. Now, unfortunately, the victim's trauma really didn't end there, because according to police, ZG stated that a couple months ago, someone had given the defendant his phone number. She texted him identifying herself as Anna and was telling ZG to apologize to her for what happened in the basement. ZG described the defendant as trying to make him feel guilty. The defendant also told him he could not tell anyone about what happened. ZG blocked her as a result.
And that's what they do. That is what they do. So it's the child's fault. It's the 12-year-old's fault. That's what she's trying to make him believe. That it was his fault about what happened. So he feels guilty, and then if he feels guilty, he won't tell anybody because he feels ashamed. That's the play that these predators do. This teacher's a sick puppy, man. She's a psycho. And thank you, Anna Maya just stole the words out of my mouth. She's sick and twisted. Unbelievable. This is Chris with Protect Your Children Incorporated. This is Saturday Night Protection Live. You can visit our website, protectyourchildren.org, protectyourchildren.org. And you can also check out the full podcast, which is available about 15 minutes after the live show on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble, and Twitter as well. Let's jump back in.
David, so twisted. So taking this allegation as true, Crocker, the adult, is trying to make a child admit that he was at fault for what happened, that he needed to apologize to her. Is this something that we see in these kinds of cases? I don't know if we want to call it manipulation, want to call it gaslighting, but an attempt to stay out of trouble, reverse the narrative, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's you see perpetrators try to make the victim feel like it's the victim's fault. Hey, you're the one who wanted this to happen. You're the one who texted me back. You're the one who got in my car with me. And so they try to manipulate the victim. You used a good phrase, gaslighting. They try to make the victim feel shame and guilt and fear. And all of that plays into the victim not coming forward for a while, or maybe never. And that's what they do. They manipulate these young kids into believing that it's their fault, that no one's going to believe them, that if they come forward, they're going to get in trouble because somehow they participated in this. So, I mean, this lady is, if true, she's twisted. And for her to try to make this kid apologize to her for what happened is just, it's bizarre. But, you know, she somehow thought it was going to help her in some weird way.
So investigators, they end up speaking to Crocker. Detective interviews Crocker, and she admits, yeah, I received this explicit video from JPF, saves it to her phone, and she also admitted to sending the video to another female student at Riverview. Why admit it? Because she has, I guess you can't deny what the cell phone data shows?
Well, you know, look, if criminals were incredibly smart, none of them would be behind bars, right? I mean, this lady's just so wrapped up in everything that's going on in her life and all these twisted crimes. I think she can't keep track of anything. And what's really going to doom her, assuming all this is true, what we're hearing from the authorities, what's going to doom her is what's on her phone. Is the authorities have her phone, and they've gone through it, and they have found all of these Snapchat messages and videos and photos that corroborate exactly what these young boys are saying happened. And so that's ultimately what's going to doom her is the evidence on her own phone.
Speaking of evidence on her own phone, parents, guardians, good teachers, other people that care about children, as we've said 100 times, the phone is the key. Now think about it. There's these conversations that she had with all these other boys talking about what happened, and she's sending them all pictures and photos. You got to ask yourself, how many of those kids knew what she was doing, didn't say anything, and the parents never found out because they never checked their phones? This is a simple step that parents can do. We've talked to you about Guardian before. We've talked to you about AirDroid for Android phones. There's a whole host of other parental control protection apps out there that you can get. There's some free ones as well. And a lot of times Android and Apple have their own parental controls that are built into the phone. And you can just look it up to see how to enable those things. But this way you can get monitored, you can get text alerts, you can get keyword alerts, you can get geolocations of where your child's at, you can know who they're with. It's a simple step that parents and guardians can take to make sure their kids aren't trapped in a situation, because like this one boy, he was holding it in for so long that he literally physically was sick. And he felt like he couldn't tell anybody. And it's like the evidence of what happened was on his freaking phone. And if the parents had been thinking, let's go check through the phone and see how he's doing, they would have found out about this a long time ago, may have been prevented in the first place, or they could have got him help sooner. But this means parents need to be involved. You can't sit there and just think that you talk to your kids so nothing's going to happen. Those days are long gone. You've got to be nosy.
Explore that a little bit, because police also spoke to another 13-year-old identified as CPW, who said he was also talking with Crocker or communicating with Crocker on Snapchat, and said she sent him lewd videos. And Crocker reportedly sent the teen, sorry to say this, a video of her pleasuring herself. According to the probable cause statement, when CPW first opened it, he thought it was a workout video, but it wasn't. He clicked through the video and didn't respond. He stated he was too young for that. CPW said then he became scared, blocked the defendant. He said he was scared because of what happened to his friend ZG, who told CPW that the defendant raped him. So many different elements to this, David. One thing I didn't mention before as we're listening to this, there's no such thing as consent when you're dealing with minors. But to have this added level to it, where they say, I didn't want this, I'm too young for this, I tried to push her off, and she keeps going forward. That's another insidious element to that as well. And also, I have to say, using Snapchat, which you and I both know, is a social media platform where some of those things can be deleted, right? I think that's a specific kind of social media platform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, so two things. One, the use of force is outrageous, and you're right. No child can consent to having sex with an adult, right? Now, a lot of times kids are manipulated and groomed, and the adults as well. Gee, they agreed to do it. No, they're under the legal age. They cannot agree, and so it's all manipulation. But you're right. Here in this case, it's just force. This is just child rape, where the kid's trying to fight her off, doesn't want it to happen, and she goes ahead and makes it happen. It's a horrific crime. With respect to the Snapchat stuff, that's what makes it really difficult for parents, for adults to try to, prevent these things from happening, because Snapchat messages, as we all know, disappear. You could pick up your kid's phone and say, hey, what's my kid up to these days? And let me go through his text messages, and unless he's deleted them, they might still be there. Snapchat messages, they're gone, right? Yeah. Most of the time. And so it's really tough to detect these crimes as a parent, very frustrating, And so this lady knew what she was doing. She's using Snapchat for a particular reason, because she believes all those messages will disappear. Unfortunately for her, the authorities are always able to retrieve those messages because they have the tools to do so.
Let me bring Jay in here for a second. How many kids would you say at your school have Snapchat that you know of? A lot or a few?
Just about all.
Just about all. So they have Snapchat. Their parents, I'm assuming, know that they have Snapchat, or maybe they don't know they have Snapchat.
I'm guessing they don't, because the stuff they watch, yeah.
So you've seen kids at school watching inappropriate stuff on Snapchat?
Oh, all the time. They try showing me, they try showing their friends. and the teachers don't do anything.
Have the teachers seen any of this stuff?
Oh yeah, one kid brought out a tablet, and the teacher saw him bring out the tablet, and it was just some girl dancing in a bikini, twerking, and teacher didn't say anything.
Wow. So what this guy is saying is pretty correct. Here's a question. Why in the world would any parent allow their kid to have Snapchat, especially if it's unmonitored? It's asking for trouble. And you're saying the kids in your class, in your school, that they've all got Snapchat. They're all using it, and they're watching inappropriate stuff, even to a point where a teacher would notice it and not even say anything. I mean, that's certainly not helping the situation, right?
Right.
It's unbelievable. Let's finish this up.
And there are several documented incidents where Crocker had contacted other young teenage boys, typically by adding them on Snapchat, striking up a conversation. For example, another teen, RDH, said he got a weird message from Crocker. When asked what the weird message was, RDH said the defendant asked him how old he was. RDH replied that he was 13 years old, to which the defendant replied, "I like that." RDH blocked her immediately after that. Here's another example with a teen identified as SDW, which deputies found out when they searched Crocker's Snapchat data. The defendant advises SDW that she saw him on the homecoming float for his high school. She then asks SDW how old he is, to which SDW replies, about to be 17. The defendant then tells SDW her age and that for employment, she is a teacher and is starting to sell real estate. Well, it turns out SDW is the older brother of one of her son's friends. Not great for her. So David, again, I think it's horrifying to hear this. Really, I don't know how you argue away those kinds of messages unless you say, oh, somebody else was impersonating me on the phone, which I think would be rather difficult. But, you talked about the sense of grooming and the sense of luring people. It seems, though, that she was using, if these allegations are true, her own child's friend group as a kind of hunting ground. Is that something that we've seen before, where you have a staff member whose own children go to a school and then, kind of use them as a way to stay in contact with these kids?
As sick and demented as that is, yes, I've seen it happen a lot, where the teacher or a worker at the school, their friends, their kid has their friends over for sleepovers or just to have them over, and they use that as a target for victims, their own child's friend group. I mean, as outrageous as that sounds, I have absolutely seen that happen before.
And parents and guardians, this is why we've always said you need to know who is in the house. If your kids are having sleepovers, and our position at Protect Your Children Incorporated, we strongly are against sleepovers for these particular reasons, because not only is that an exorbitant amount of time to spend at someone else's house, but the kids can get tired, they can fall asleep. Remember the story of the dad who drugged his daughter's friends when they had a slumber party? We brought this to you live. This was a few months back, or maybe longer than that. But the daughter had a sleepover and all these girls were there. And this father freaking put prescription medicine in their smoothies to drug all the girls. I mean, that's insane, right? But this is why it's important to know, if you're going to allow your kids to have a sleepover at someone's house, you better know who else is in that house. You better have made sure that the other people in that house are safe, because your child can come victim just in a split minute, in a second. It can happen. And, we know some parents whose kids are always sleeping at other people's houses, and I'm thinking, excuse me, do you have any idea what's happening in that house all night long at 2 or 3 in the morning when you're sound asleep? Do you have any idea what your kid's doing, or who's talking to them, or who's approaching them, or who's showing them stuff, who's desensitizing them, demoralizing them, trying to hypersexualize them? Do you have any idea? Oh, they go over there all the time. They love it over there. It's like their second home. Well, that's great. Maybe it's innocent. Maybe it's not. But if you don't ask the right questions, and spend some time with that family and get to know the parents and the people that are there, you'll never know what the heck is happening. And like you said, this teacher was using her son's students and friends as a hunting ground to abuse more kids. And again, why is a student hanging out over at a teacher's house? We just don't think it should be allowed to begin with.
And it just shows you how demented the perpetrator is. I mean, this lady, based on everything we've talked about today, Jesse, this lady is a classic predator. I mean, no doubt about it. And look, you know, society, we always think of males as being a predator. You know, the male is always, hey, this lady is as bad as they get. She's a female predator going after young boys, and she's manipulating them using, you know, sex and videos and sexual talk to draw them in and then to take advantage of them.
Because there's so many alleged victims here, and now the prosecutor in the county is saying she's receiving tons and tons of tips. If there are more alleged victims or more instances or more witnesses to this, is the school district liable at all for any of this? That they didn't find out about this and didn't stop it?
Remains to be seen. My understanding is she worked there for about 4 years. She started off as kind of a substitute teacher's aide, and then they hired her full time. Look, in my experience, 9 out of 10 times, there's a lot of red flags or warning signs that school officials or administrators should have known that something was going on. But to be fair, there's other times where they didn't know. Where this, for example, if this lady, it was all text messages, is outside of the classroom. No one possibly could have known she was, you know, texting or Snapchatting these boys. And maybe the school didn't know, but it remains to be seen. And it's something that should always be looked into as, hey, could this have been prevented? Because she's a school employee, and presumably some of these boys went to that school. That's where the relationship or the connection started.
Well, for now, Crocker is locked up on a $500,000 bond. Her attorney says she is maintaining her innocence, and her next court appearance is scheduled for November 22nd. David Ring, thank you so much for coming on. Good seeing you.
She's maintaining, her innocence. There's videos, chats, messages, pictures, but I didn't do anything wrong. Now, if in her brain she's a 12 or 13-year-old, and maybe she doesn't think she did anything wrong, but she clearly did. And the question of could it have been prevented? Yes. Do the schools need to do more? Absolutely. So let me bring Jay in here. We're going to wrap up here in about 10 or 15 minutes. We thank you guys for staying with us a little bit later than normal. Usually it's about an hour-long show. Jay, let me ask you a question. In your school, have they done any seminars, any conferences, anything to teach you guys or warn you guys about predators?
No.
Nothing.
No, nothing.
And there's one of the problems right there. They keep saying the schools want to do more. Oh, we don't, this is not acceptable. And she's been fired. And the most important thing we do is keep our kids safe. But yet they haven't had, so no organization has come in to say, you guys have a big conference in the gym or whatever to say, hey kids, if this is happening, it's wrong. Nope. So the school's not doing anything to inform these kids. And that's something where Protect Your Children comes in, because that's one of our goals, is to get into the school system and actually present these seminars to these students, and so that they can be aware. Because a lot of these kids, they may not realize what is actually happening. They may not realize how bad it is. They may not realize that there's help available. They may not be thinking that, wait a minute, while they're being quiet, tons of other kids are being victimized. But the school's not teaching this. And something else the teachers can do and the schools can do. How about making it against policy for the teachers to communicate with the kids outside of a school-connected program? Now, you have a program for your school, which you say you've talked to a teacher on, and what is it, Canvas?
Yeah, Canvas.
So Canvas it's set up by the Board of Education and it's monitored by the district. So when you send a message to a teacher on there, they send a message back. The school system can see those messages at any time.
Yeah.
So it's a safe way to communicate with the teacher. Now, if you had a teacher say, "Hey, just reach out to me on Instagram if you want me to help you," that would be wrong. And we think that would be wrong. But yet there's plenty of parents who don't realize that their kids are talking to their teachers on these social media platforms. Now you have to ask yourself, why would a teacher say, "Hey, instead of talking to me, through the school approved program, get hold of me privately"? Why? It shouldn't even be allowed, and the school system can do that. Something else that we've called for is to have psychosexual evaluations done on teachers. Well, that's going to cost a lot of money, and that's going to make a lot of people not want to be teachers and this and that. But here's the thing. If you're running a simple little criminal background check and you're saying, "Oh, teacher's good, no arrests, they're safe," and that's all you're doing, and then you're not teaching the students on what to look for, then what is there to protect them? Right? I mean, it's crazy. So now, that a predator's plan, we've talked about this, is to hypersexualize kids. In your opinion, what you've seen, would you say the majority of the kids that you associate with are like hypersexualized, meaning like it's always sexual joking, sexual topics, sexual stuff, gay stuff, straight stuff, all that? Would you say that that's the case?
Yes.
Now, how do you think? What are some ways you think they got that way?
Probably by their parents letting them be around whoever they want, being on different social media sites, seeing how everyone acts and jokes around, probably playing games where that's like, or just hanging out with other people who do the same thing.
What about pornography? Have you experienced any of that at school?
Yes, twice. There was this kid, he was talking to his friends and he pulled up a video of a naked guy dancing, basically. He was doing weird stuff and he showed it to his friend. And I got a glance of it and that's it. And then he just turned it off immediately once he saw the teacher coming near him because he thought he was going to get his phone taken.
So again, nothing's stopping the child from pulling up adult content on their phone.
Nothing.
Clearly no parental controls, nothing blocking it, nothing obviously alerting their parents, unless the parents are okay with it, which I guess some parents might be, and that's a whole nother show. But you've seen this.
Yes.
Now, is it mostly guys, girls, boys or girls?
Rarely girls, but mainly guys.
So the boys, so you definitely say they're sexualized.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, the school in one case saw what the child pulled up on a tablet and they didn't say nothing about it.
Yeah.
See, that's turning a blind eye. That's turning a blind eye. So if a predator tries to demoralize a child, desensitize them, hypersexualize them, and then try to sleep with them, basically, or abuse them, or in this case, ape them, can you see how it would be easier to do that if a child thinks that there's nothing wrong with it?
Yeah, in my school, it would be completely easy.
So if a teacher wanted to approach one of these students and said, "Hey, we can go do something and nobody has to know," do you think some of these kids would go along with it?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. That's scary. That's really scary. Wow. So you've seen it.
Yep.
It's all around. Social media, pornography, even the music. You mentioned about the dancing, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows that on TikTok, probably 80 or 90% of these TikTok trends, these TikTok dancing, is sexual. It's all gyrating, twerking, popping the hips. And those little things actually start grooming a child. It starts making them think that it's not bad. All these other people are doing it, right? So it can't be that wrong. And again, once you see something enough, you think it's okay, right?
Yeah.
And we've had conversations about that, you know what I mean? And it's like a lot of kids today don't realize that something is inappropriate or wrong because they've seen it enough. They've heard it so many times that they're just, no, it's just not really that big of a deal. Everyone's doing it. But the problem is it's still wrong. But once we see it enough or hear it enough, then it's like you're so used to it that it doesn't seem wrong anymore. That's the definition of demoralizing, desensitizing. What would once say, no, I don't want to look at that, that's wrong, is now like, I've seen it so much, it doesn't matter. And that's how predators work. And the fact that they get into the school system where your kids' parents are sitting there for 8 hours a day, not supervised by you, and they're able to pull out their phones and they're able to look at pornography and look at stuff from their friends. And in some cases, the teacher can even realize they're looking at something inappropriate and do nothing about it. The fact that the schools are not doing anything to teach the kids that, hey, if anybody's touching you or if anybody's doing this to you, it's wrong, it's illegal, and if there's help, you need help, we'll give it to you. I mean, imagine that. Imagine a conference at a school system like where this teacher worked, right? Say there was a conference from an organization like Protect Your Children Incorporated, right? So we go in there, we hold a conference. Every school year we're in there, we tell a whole batch of new kids, hey, if your teacher or any other adult comes to you and is trying to do something sexual with you, it is absolutely wrong and it's not okay. That teacher would have crapped her pants because here she was allegedly abusing these students, right? And these kids would have been like, oh, that's me. Oh, that's me. Oh, wait, I know. That's my friend. Oh, I got to tell somebody. Like this, I didn't realize how bad it really was. But no, school's not doing anything to protect the kids. They're allowing it. And that's the same thing with the technology companies. You know, parents are sitting there waiting for the technology companies to protect their kids. They're not going to do it. They claim that, we're putting safeguards in, but yet, as we mentioned last week, you can have, a 10 or a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old on Instagram, and he's popping to some freaking dance video, and all these predators are commenting, telling them to oil up. They'll be there in 5 minutes, and hey, I want to take you for a Diddy party. These are all in backwards ways of saying they want to do stuff with them. Hey, telling a child, hey, you're hot. Instagram, TikTok, they have no way of picking up on that? Sure they do. Parental control apps that are out there can monitor keywords from your kids' messages. You telling me that a company like Instagram or TikTok can't identify that as an issue? And first of all, identify that this child's like 13 years old, and then see that people are commenting sexually toward them and realize that those profiles are from adults? They can't do that? Of course they can. What we're telling you is that they don't want to protect the kids. We think that the schools don't really want to protect the kids. So what does that mean? They're doomed? No, it comes down to the parents and the guardians and the people that care about the kids to be educated, to be aware, and to keep their eyes open to what is happening. That's what it comes down to. Now, some of you guys know Jay's history. He's been on the show before. He went through some horrible experiences in foster care. You can go back and look up that podcast. It's on our website, protectyourchildren.org, and also on our social media. And let me ask you a question. Were you ever told by the person that abused you, or the multiple people that did, to not tell anybody?
Yes, all the time.
Did they say if you tell anybody, you're going to get in trouble?
That, and they threatened to hurt my family.
So, right, did anyone try to say it was your fault?
A few.
So it's the same tactics.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that before. These predators have the same tactics. Their game does not change. Their ultimate goal is the same, to abuse a child. But the same manipulation, the same grooming, the same lies, the same twisted stuff, it's all the same. Whether you're a teacher or you're a Boy Scout leader or a Girl Scout leader or a camp counselor or a mentor, anything, any of that, the predators are always using the same tactics. The good news is that you can learn what those tactics are. You can be educated. You can become aware. Your kids can become aware of what the tactics are, right? And that's why we're telling you about the guidelines that are on our website, protectyourchildren.org. The in-depth protection guidelines that are there can teach your kids a lot of this stuff. The most important thing before we finish up here that they have to realize is that this is harmful to them. And let's just say, for argument's sake, that these teachers were sexually active at 12 and 13 years old. Maybe they were abused, molested, who knows? But if that is tied into what they're doing now, then you can see the danger of sexual activity for kids at a young age when they're not ready to handle it. It sets them up to a pattern to become abusers. We know from the stats that it's somewhere around 25-30% of kids that have been abused become abusers themselves. That's pretty scary. And that happens because they don't tell anybody. And it happens because the psychological effect that it has on them stays festering in their brain as they keep it quiet, and it slowly destroys them. But again, this is where parents need to be involved. And we said it before. When your child starts acting out at home and you see behavior changes come out of nowhere, the parent's default position is to yell at the child, ground them, right? Tell them to shut up. It's because I said so. You want to act like that, you're in trouble. But how about this question? Pull them aside, away from everybody else, and say, hey, what's going on? This is not you. You're not normally like this. What is going on right now? Please talk to me, because this is not how you behave. This is not how you normally are. Find out what's happening. This kid that she allegedly aped, he was having all sorts of problems. And he finally was able to come out and tell his mom what happened after he held on to it for God knows how long. So, not being educated, not being aware, not asking the right questions, allows a child to suffer in silence, sometimes for years and years and years. And by the time it gets found out, there's so much damage done, it takes years and years and years and years to reverse it, if it can be reversed. So, anything else you want to add about what's the craziest thing that you've seen a kid do at school sexually related?
Well, it's not that I've seen, but I've heard, and the kid admitted it. So, few weeks ago, turns out some kid in 8th grade fingered a 6-year-old girl, and teachers, the entire school basically knew about it. But
he told people this?
Yeah, he was bragging about it and everything. And what's funny is the teachers and all them knew nothing happened. Kid just went on about the week, and he didn't get suspended, expelled. Nothing happened to the kid.
And you're sure a teacher knew this, like heard this?
Oh yeah, obviously. We were right by the coach when he yelled about it. Obviously, the coach heard him, and the rumor was around everywhere. Kids were talking about it in every single class. There wasn't a single place where you didn't hear about it.
Wow. And that right there needs to be a call made to the parents. Because obviously a 6-year-old cannot consent to something like that. He abused that 6-year-old.
Well, not 6-year-old, sixth grader.
Yeah, 6th grader, yeah. I mean, that's just crazy. Like, the kids will talk about this, like, and he talked about it like it was no big deal. Like, bragging about it?
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. They don't think anything's wrong with it. Desensitized, demoralized. See, it's already happened. We got a whole generation of kids that have been brainwashed to think that the stuff that we know is wrong is now okay. Wow. And for people that don't know, you were homeschooled for a lot of years, and so this is the first year you've been back in public school.
Yep, and I hate it.
And what you've seen so far.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, as you get older, it
only gets worse.
It does. The kids are crazier, but you know, you have a strong foundation, you know what I mean? Like you're aware of it, and it's important, you know, that, yeah, Anamayo says it's normalizing sin. And haha is in the chat. Haha, glad to see you in part of the show. But you have to be alert, right, to these things, because, and we try to tell parents to tell their kids this. You know, your child may just go to school thinking they're going to go to math class. But at any point, a child can pull something out and show them something that could lead them into sin, you know, or something so disgusting and shocking. It can happen. And it's like you have to tell your kids to be prepared for this and to come tell you if something like that happens. Because what we've heard from Jay here is that the school's not doing anything to teach about protection from predators. Teachers have witnessed inappropriate content on a tablet, never did anything about it. They know that this other kid, from what they were hearing, is doing inappropriate stuff with a 6th grader, didn't say anything to the parents about it. They're just acting like it's no big deal. And this psycho predator teacher over here is having a ball because she's got all these kids, you know, that are hypersexualized. Well, so she thought she can get away with abusing them. The one boy clearly didn't want it, but she forced it on him. This other kid blocked her. Another kid blocked her. And then another kid went and told the school counselor. And thank God he did. So there's some hope out there, because that means there's still some kids out there that are like, hell no, this is not okay. This is wrong. But silence doesn't accomplish anything, right? Like, Jay, have you ever heard any rumors about any kids and teachers?
No.
Nothing. Okay. Now, if you heard a rumor going around that one of the teachers was doing something with one of the kids, what would be the response? What would you do?
I would first tell the principal, then tell the counselor, because he's usually in my classes. He just comes in randomly. He sits around, watches what we're doing, and then he just leaves. And then there's also a sheriff that's usually in the hallways watching, making sure there's no fights, nothing.
Oh, you let him know?
Tell him.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
because that's the police. They'll actually investigate it right away. Yeah. And, you know, if you don't tell anybody and it is happening, then that means that child is suffering in silence.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same lines of bullying, right? You know, if you know a kid's being bullied or you see a kid that's being bullied, the people that stand around and do nothing, and then that child comes to a point where they want to shoot up the school or unalive themselves. Our first question is, did anybody see this happening? Oh, lots of people did. Did anybody step in and do something about it? No. They filmed it on their phone. That's what they put on TikTok. Oh, watch how this kid's getting bullied. It's so funny. Oh, yeah, what a wimp. Really? It's the same thing. People who don't speak up can often be the cause of something worse happening. Carry that around. You know, kids don't think about it, but when you get older, who wants to carry that guilt and shame around, right? Wow. All right, this is Chris with Protect Your Children Incorporated. This is Saturday Night Protection Live. If you missed any of the show, as we wrap up here, you can listen to the podcast. It's available about 15, 20 minutes after the show ends. We'll also be posting it for the next few weeks. And also, thanks to a donation from Haha, who's in the chat. We're very thankful for that. The show will be promoted on social media over the next week or so, and we're sure that's going to garner a whole bunch of views. And if anybody wants to help donate to spread this education and awareness, you can do that. We ask that you just go to protectyourchildren.org, protectyourchildren.org. There's all the information right here, bringing it up for you. And you can go there and you can see there's a lot of expenses associated with this organization, right? We want to do a lot of things, conferences, events, community events. You see some of the ones we've done in the past. We want to get this information out. We want to promote the in-depth protection packet to a lot of people. There's so much work that needs to be done. We want to get into the school systems. As you heard from Jay, his school has done nothing. There's not, like, here we are, an organization that's saying, hey, let us in. We'll come in and you know, put on a age-appropriate conference for all the kids in the school, which can basically not only keep the kids safe, but it also, it covers the school's butt. Because then they can say, hey, we have people come in and teach about this. we warned the kids that this shouldn't happen. We're doing something, right? And here we are wanting to do that, but the directors were unable to do that. Why? Because, well, one of us has to work, right? And we have to make money, right? We have to make money and support ourselves. So we can't take off of work and go do this. But with your donations, it does help us to do that. You know, we always ask people, you know, donate $5, $10, something to the cause. We get a bunch of people doing that per month, and you can set that up on our website, you know, and it starts to support the work that we do. And, you know, when we get to a point where, you know, we can have somebody full time go into the schools and teaching and have volunteers and assistant directors that can help us out, yeah, we'd like to get to that point. But honestly, the donations aren't there, right? So we're unable to do that. So if you can help us out to do that, you will get tax deductible receipt, and all of your money goes directly back to the mission. Right now, nobody's taking a salary at Protect Your Children Incorporated. So anyway, it's crazy, but keep an eye on your kids. Marie T, thanks for being here. Anna Mayo, haha. Wings on Eagles, Bryden, everybody else in the chat. We're thank you for being here. Jay, thanks.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Sharon, and giving some people some real life insight of what's going on in the school system. You know, let me ask you a real quick question to close. Do you think that the kids are talking the way they do and looking at what they do around their parents?
Oh, no, because in some of my classes that they're in, when the teacher threatens to call the parent, they always beg them not to.
Yeah,
So
please don't tell them we'll
so
get in
there's
trouble.
no way that they're talking like this at home. And if they are, then someone needs to take those kids out of that house.
Yeah, because it's being allowed. Yeah. Wow, it's crazy. All right. Anyway, podcast will be available about 15, 20 minutes. Please like, subscribe, follow us on our social media. You can find all of those links on our homepage, protectyourchildren.org. Share the podcast, share the live stream. You know, just share is the key. There's a huge difference when you share it, when it comes to the views and how many people are reached versus not. So please do your part and help get the word out. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. And Lord willing, we'll be back next Saturday, 8 p.m. for Saturday Night Protection Live. Until then, stay safe and keep protecting.